Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition. In these episodes, we tackle the issues that matter most to autistic people.
Each week, we share our insights and the experiences of our guests on how to live authentically and thrive as autistics.
I'm Dr. Angela Kingdon, the linguistic autistic.
And I'm Matt Lowry, licensed psychological practitioner. Let's dive into strategies for living your best, most authentically autistic life.
Episode 112, Autistic Sleep Problems. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Matt. What fancy meeting you here in Autistica.
Yeah, it's been roughly 8 minutes.
They don't know we record back to back. They think we live in
don't.
Autistica. It's just the two of us, and we let them visit.
I just shattered an illusion. Oh my!
Mm-hmm. It's the fourth wall. You broke it.
Yeah. That damn thing's been just hanging on a thread for some time now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if you break that, you want to have a good purpose. So you better be here to tell us something helpful and informative. It is Friday, after all.
Oh yeah. Well, I can deal with socially awkward and unfortunate, but that's all I got. But
no.
Well,
okay.
But today we might actually have something that can help people, because it turns out that autistic people have a lot of sleep problems. Did you know this?
I thought it was just me, and then I heard you mention it, because I think this is one of those lesser known problems that autistics have. It's nowhere in the DSM. Like, it's not like eye contact, sleep problems. I don't even think does it show up on your spectrum graphic, your like better way to diagnose autistic people?
It actually doesn't, and there was a big reason for that, because it has so much overlap among the categories. I couldn't figure out where to put it. Exactly.
But it's also bottom-up processing,
executive functioning, all of the stuff, because it's...
Maybe you should put it in the middle with like a big, like a big bullseye. All of this leads to sleep problems, bitches.
Yeah, and it's also affected by and leads to our autistic meat body problems. So, okay, so this is the thing. We're going to talk about the autistic sleep problems. We're going to talk about how it affects us, why it affects us, the sort of sleep problems that we have. And then we're going to talk about how you might be able to change your environment, change your
environment. Yeah, beep, beep. I'm in New York. I did not hire that. That was not a crisis actor. That was a real horn.
And again, I don't want to edit out any of these sound effects, because they add to the reason why we're doing this. Because, so a little bit of background on me. Number one, I do have sleep apnea. I've had sleep apnea for years and years and years before it was ever diagnosed. I would snore really, really badly. I did not breathe at night. And ever since getting my BiPAP machine, I can sleep a lot better. But also...
I don't notice you doing that, though. I notice you texting and posting all night long.
Oh, well, yeah, that is another thing. But that's
you have
another
to
category
use
of
the
sleep
CPAP machine for it to work.
Yeah, well, okay, so when we went to Disney, I forgot my CPAP at home. And about 2 hours into the trip, I was like, oh, crap, I left my CPAP behind. And I was like, I'll be fine without it. I used to sleep without it 10 years ago. I did not sleep the entire damn time. My partner at the time went and got me some Breathe Right strips to help me breathe at night.
Did that work?
But
that doesn't do anything.
No, it did not. I slept the entire ride back from Florida, and it was a rough time. I did not realize how absolute much I need that in order to get any restful sleep whatsoever.
Wow. Because you're basically never getting to REM sleep. Like you are closing your eyes, you fall asleep, and then as soon as you start to have deep sleep, you wake yourself up. So you never act. So it's like taking lots of 10-minute naps.
Exactly. And they never quite
can't add up. Because it's not restorative sleep.
And on top of that, I used to live in Bardstown, and I had a neighbor who would go outside and hammer on his car all night. Why he decided that hammering on a car was an effective means of car repair, I'll have no idea. But I couldn't get to sleep because of the noise. And these background noises that you're experiencing in New York are what a lot of autistic people have because of all of the sensory issues that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm in New York, just in case anyone wonders why, just for a couple days going to see some Broadway shows because special interests. And there's things I need to see. Audra McDonald in Gypsy, which I could not miss, and Lin-Manuel Miranda from my years of only speaking in lines from Hamilton, which does still happen. I'm going to see him in a new show called All In, and it's a limited run. So I had to get here to see the shows. I would like to see more, like 50, but the budget does not allow. 2 Broadway shows. I'm out like a flight, all the things. It's like $1,000 to see 2 Broadway shows. It's
wow.
Crazy pants. It doesn't because nobody's coming to Broadway anymore, you guys. Broadway is going to end. It's going to be the end of Broadway because nobody's coming. So they keep raising the prices on those of us who will come, which is making fewer and fewer people come. So this is not working out well. It's not great. So anyway, I would not have slept at all last night because of many things. The noise all night long, because New York, the city that never sleeps. But I did have my magical Zoom earplugs, which helped. I did get a good 4 to 6 hours, which is, I've never slept more than really 4 hours a night. And did you know Einstein was also a short sleeper?
Well, again, that kind of fits in with all this.
Also one of us. Yeah. He wrote about it a lot. If I get like 4 hours, that's like massive victory. So I think that's what I did last night.
When Emmett was born, I got, again, he was in the NICU for a few months, and I got into the habit of only sleeping about 4 hours. I would come home exhausted, just pass out, get up, go to work, do the whole thing. Go to the hospital, spend time with him, drive back home. The hospital was an hour away from my house.
That's rude.
Yeah, 2-hour drive every single day, going to work every day, going to the hospital for several hours, coming back home, taking care of the dogs, taking care of my ex at the time, taking care of the bunnies. No self-care because, why would that ever happen? So, it wrecked me. And this is a big thing that leads to burnout because we don't get the physical rest that we need. We don't get the mental rest that we need. Because, so there are a lot of theories as to why humans need sleep. Because all animals need sleep for some reason or another, but there's a lot of varieties of sleep. Like dolphins sleep half of their brain at a time. So, half of their brain is awake on the lookout for predators. Half the brain is, in sleep mode. And, some animals will sleep a lot, like cats sleep, 18 hours a day? Whereas like elephants
all the hours available.
Exactly. Elephants will sleep very briefly because their insides might get crushed. So it's every creature.
Because they have to like lay down and then all the pressing on the organ. That might be why I don't sleep. Okay, maybe not.
But that's the thing. When researchers look at this, there's no apparent reason why we need to sleep. But if we don't sleep, we become psychotic and die. The longest record for anyone staying awake, I believe, was 9 days due to a radio contest. And they would have people just stay awake for long stretches of time because, the early days.
There was there might be a different number more recent. Mr. Beast did this massive
Mr. Beast.
No sleeping thing. It was like all different ages and people had to stay awake, and then whoever stayed awake the longest won $1 million. I don't know how many days that
Mr. Beast torturing people for fun and profit.
Yeah. I have other things to say about Mr. Beast, but we'll save that for another episode. He probably sleeps just fine though. Let's just say
on piles of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so they did these experiments to see what a natural sleep-wake cycle looks like. Because, so the big thing about sleep is that it is governed by a little teeny part in the center of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN. And the suprachiasmatic nucleus is affected by these outside factors that we call zeitgebers. They are timekeepers, mainly the solar cycle. The sun comes up, we wake up, sun goes down, we go to sleep. And
Okay.
for hundreds of thousands of generations, that is how humans operated. We operated by the sun. But autistic people also seem to have what we call delayed sleep phase onset, where our suprachiasmatic nuclei work differently and interpret signals differently than neurotypical people. So we tend to be late sleepers and late risers in general.
Wow. Okay.
So this is a thing that we are that needs to be studied more, but it is a current study. But researchers wanted to figure out what a natural sleep-wake cycle looks like, because again, in the times like winter in the northern hemisphere, we have a lot of darkness, and summer we have a lot of light. Does that affect sleep? So they put all these people in a cave to see what a natural sleep-wake cycle looked like. And without
Mm.
any of these outside zeitgeibers like,
Yeah.
sun and night, it turns out that people generally had a 48-hour cycle where they would stay awake for like 24 hours at a time, sleep for about 12, uh, little variations somewhere in there. But generally, it was about a 48-hour cycle. So it's interesting that our biology is different than the spinning of the earth.
Huh.
But
This
research,
is reminding me, there was this guy that I worked with. I have no idea what his name was, but he was a computer programmer, and he had a special accommodation at work, which was he decided he could be more productive in life if life was 35 hours a day instead of 24. And he felt
yeah,
like 24 was arbitrary and just like based on the moon, but he wasn't a gardener. So why should that affect him? So
right.
he had a 35-hour day, and he would sleep for like 8 hours at the end of 35 hours. And so he always worked different hours, but lived his life on a 35-hour a day schedule. And
This is
I kind of think he might be autistic.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
making
and
a
this is a big.
connection.
One of my old professors, Fred Danner at the University of Kentucky, probably one of my favorite professors.
You've talked
He
about him
he
before.
once realized that the kids of Fayette County uh, were being impacted by poor sleep, and sleep is one of his favorite topics to study. So he got Fayette County Public Schools to change start times from like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And in
Mm-hmm.
doing so, traffic accidents across the county dropped drastically, test scores skyrocketed, and everything in general was better. But they soon had to go back to normal because capitalism demands that everybody get to work at 8 o'clock. Parents had to be at work at 8.
Right.
The entire system, as it is, was designed by Puritans who were fucking out of their minds.
Right.
So the test scores crashed again. Traffic went up. All of this stuff went back to normal because, again, we live on a messed up Puritan schedule.
Yep. So that is kind of arbitrary
Yeah.
for where we are.
Yeah. But okay, so scientists don't really know why we need to sleep, because in theory, if we sit here in a chair, our bodies are getting the same amount of not movement as we get as laying in a bed. But again, our brains keep moving. So, do our brains need that rest? Why do our brains need the rest? What kind of rest do our brains need? And REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, is a period where we switch our brain waves over, and we go into it roughly every 90 minutes, and we dream while our brains are processing stuff, and we might be shunting like information throughout the day through the hippocampus into long-term storage, which is why we have these weird dreams, because it's a side effect of our brains doing all this weird calculation and unconsciously processing all of the data that we have swirling around in our brains. But it also could be a fact that we flush our brains out with cerebrospinal fluid while we're asleep. And that's getting rid of all these contaminants, getting rid of all this weird shit that has built up throughout the day is a process to keep brain decay away. Because again,
The
when people
plaque
get
thing.
Exactly. When people
Yeah.
get a chronic lack of sleep, it's going to lead to deterioration. So
Mm.
there are potential reasons for that, but no one seems to know why we as human beings seem to need roughly 8 to 12 hours of sleep every single night, and adolescents need around 12 to 14 hours sleep because they're growing, they're changing, their brains are doing brain things. Neurotypical brains are going through the pruning process. Autistic brains are worried about literally everything under the sun, which we'll get
Literally
to in our
everything.
second segment. But
Oh,
it's, yeah, well, we'll talk more about that in the
do you
second
want to go
segment.
to a break and then come back and talk about
Well,
us?
we'll talk more about this first because
Okay.
this, yeah,
Okay.
about, because again, so it turns out that autistic people, again, it's not in the DSM that we have sleep problems, but unofficial research has shown that so much sleep disturbance is attributed to autistic people that it is argued that it needs to be in the DSM as
Oh,
a
really?
hallmark of autism.
Hmm.
And every single person I talk to, I ask about sleep problems. I ask about sleep apnea. I ask about, all of this stuff. So I've done a ton of unofficial research with all this. Other people have done a ton of unofficial research, which is the stuff we'll get to in a minute. But before we get to that, it's so common, and it leads to a lot of other health issues because, again, we as autistic people have meat bodies that just fall apart, and without good restorative sleep, our bodies don't get the rest it needs
So
in
this
order to
is one of
rebuild.
the things that I think I don't know, the autism moms get really mad about, like, if the autism spectrum is wide, then their precious children are not going to get the resources they need, right? Like, that's
Ah,
one of the
yes.
complaints. And what I think they do is they confuse, and I think what the DSM does is it confuses autism with a whole bunch of
Yeah.
medical conditions that may or may not be related. So
Yeah.
the sleep disturbance is an autism thing. The consequences, like if you end up with, let's say, I don't know, fibromyalgia,
Yeah.
that is not caused by autism, but it is caused by the sleep disturbances in part, that
Yeah.
and other things that is caused by autism. So I think it gets really messy here because sleep disturbances deserve treatments. You have a CPAP, there are other treatments that people have, like that deserves medical intervention if it is affecting your ability to work and function and think clearly.
Yeah.
So there's no argument that those medical conditions shouldn't be treated. They should be treated better than they're being treated now. They
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
shouldn't be stuck together.
And this is a big thing about, uh, autistic adults, autistic children, different, uh, the co-occurrence of like an intellectual disability versus giftedness, all this other stuff, because sleep is this universal thing that we all need. But depending on our other protective factors, we can navigate that a lot better. A kid who has no other coping mechanisms, when they get a lack of sleep, they're going to have a lot of behavioral problems. They're going to have a lot of emotional problems because, again, they're not well rested and they're not capable of handling their environment. Adults are able to close their office door and just not see anybody and not be around people because we have a lot greater freedom. And this is a big thing that the autism moms just do not understand because they see what they see and they don't understand that other people have different experiences,
Right.
and that is unfortunate for everybody. I'm going to be dealing with that tomorrow. I'll keep you updated how that acts, but we'll
Mm.
but that so this is the thing. It's so very common, but not well understood, not well researched. There's a lot of sleep
And
research, but
misunderstood.
misunderstood, drastically misunderstood, misattributed, all of these other things. And this is why we need a lot more attention paid to this. This is why we're doing this podcast episode. I want everybody in the comments to talk about their, sleep issues. Because again, notice I didn't say, do you have sleep issues? I'm saying, tell us about your sleep issues,
Yeah.
because it is so common that it's part of everyday autistic life. But we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about all the various reasons we have sleep issues, all the types of sleep issues, and then eventually, because we're going to make you sit through two commercial breaks and an hour of podcast, then we'll tell you about it if I'm feeling generous.
How to fix it if you feel like it at the end.
If I feel like it, if I didn't fall asleep.
Yes. And if you're thinking, I don't know if I have sleep issues, or even if you're thinking I don't have sleep issues, stay until after this break, because once you hear this, I know when you said to Jesse, tell me about your sleep issues, Jesse, my son, he was like, oh, I don't have any. And then you're like, so know this, know that. And he's like, oh, no. Yeah, no, of course. All those things. I thought they were normal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because again, it's so common among us. We think that this is how humans function.
Right.
And
yes.
it is.
Come back and hear about the different categories you might see yourself and surprise yourself.
If you're one of those listeners that periodically listens to the podcast until the first commercial break to determine whether or not you're going to continue listening, this is one you should stick around for.
For sure.
Hey, clinicians. Are you looking for an affirming way to assess autism and ADHD that bridges the gap between self-identification and formal testing? NeuroPebble's diagnostic assessment training for master's level clinicians is here to help you confidently navigate assessments. This course prioritizes lived experience and understanding the nuances in the diversity of traits. You can even get 7 CEUs if you need them. Start today at bit.ly/neuropebble and take the first step towards transforming your practice. At NeuroPebble, every idea is a pebble that paves the path to a more neurodivergent, affirming world. Go to bit.ly/neuropebble to learn more.
We are back. And I saw that there was a note in the studio chat, and I nearly read out Simon's phone number. So.
You read this. When I put things, you're supposed to read them.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Yeah. Wait, yeah. I didn't type that.
Yes.
And if I did, it was just because I was tired.
Yes. So we are going to talk about sleep issues, and I am going to blow your mind. One of the most common sleep problems, if you lay down on your bed and it takes you less than 2 minutes to go to sleep, that's a sleep problem.
Wow. So what I do is I lay down and then I pick a topic like vegetables or girls' names or Broadway stars. And then I go through each letter of the alphabet and think of people who have like a first name that starts with that letter or a vegetable. And then when I get to the end, I just change the category, or I see if I can do it backwards. And once we've done 6 or 7 cycles of that, usually I fall asleep. That's not how it's done? No?
Like all neurotypicals. Yeah.
What do people do? Why would you be categorizing bugs? Like if you have a special interest, you need to use it to help you fall asleep. That's what the information's there for?
Yeah, apparently tonight I'm going to think of Anne of Green Gables
hentai.
So, yeah.
Hope you listened on Tuesday, folks.
Yeah. So, didn't know that was a thing, but something has been awakened.
Yeah.
So,
you're welcome.
Okay, so we have insomnia, we have hypersomnia. So the reason that I don't have sleep problems on my big spectrum graphic is because, number one, our interoceptive difficulties do not tell us that we are sleepy. It tells us that something is wrong. It tells us that something needs to be fixed, but it doesn't say that our bodies need rest. We might say, I feel tired, but then we lay down and we stare at the ceiling and we can't shut our brains off. Hence, why you might go into an elaborate mental ritual of, categorizing things so that you can take your brain off of stuff. Mm-hmm. We might not notice that we're sleepy while we're trying to drive, while we're trying to cook, while we're talking to people. We might just sort of drift away, and that looks like daydreaming. and we might actually be sitting there in class and going into a dream state, which
Mm.
is something that actually happened to me. And I dreamt that I was in English class and that I wasn't paying attention, and then I woke up and I was in English class, and I was like, oh God, I hate this. And I was
That's so
very,
meta.
yeah, it was terrible. And our brains might periodically shut off because it is so exhausted from not getting the necessary sleep that we need.
Huh.
So, but we also have a lot of extra sensitive stuff, like when we talked about the Princess and the Pea,
Yes.
because our meat bodies are so hypersensitive to the world around us that unless we have just the right environment, if it's too cold, if it's too hot, if there's too much noise, if there's not enough noise, if you need a fan, because autistic people are well known for needing a fan for both air circulation and white noise. If
Mm-hmm.
you're in New York and lots of noises are happening
Mm-hmm.
outside, if you have a neighbor who hammers on his car all night, damn you guy,
Oh.
he's there's a lot of all these factors that contribute to this. uh, I got my bed in 2005, and I kept this bed for roughly 2 decades until just a couple of months ago. And after I moved into the new house, I was like, new house, new bed. And I got rid of
Yeah.
the mattress, got a new mattress, and I laid down on this thing, and it was like laying down on a damn cloud. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic.
Did you have a
So
terrible bed? You
I
had a
had it.
terrible mattress?
Yes.
That's the worst. I have so
It,
many mattress rules. I have just, yeah, journals
yeah.
full of rules about mattresses. I am so picky about mattresses.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. When I got the original mattress, I was like, yes, this is a very nice mattress. And I never updated that information in my brain because
Yes,
I
that's the
always said,
update. I know about that.
yeah, yeah. I always categorized it as it is a nice mattress and it shall be a nice mattress for the next 100 years.
Right. Yeah.
And
So good.
the mattress was incredibly lumpy. It was incredibly, I got the Nest sort of thing in there where, you
Oh,
lay in one
yeah.
spot for years and years and years and it just dips.
And then you
And
just fall into the center.
yeah. And I just said, well, I have a bed. I don't need a new bed because I have a bed. So I finally got a new mattress. I still haven't upgraded the box springs, and I also just leave it on the floor because I don't. Number one, I don't see the purpose of having a bed off the floor because we are not in Egyptian times. I don't have to worry about vermin crawling around and getting into bed with me. I don't have to worry about the various ill humors sneaking into my house at night. I do worry about the boogeyman.
But
So
but it's also storage space. You're missing out on storage space opportunities.
that is true.
I
I would
feel like
like to,
under
if I
bed
had a
is
bed that had like wooden drawers
that's what
instead of
I
just
have.
being elevated, I
That's what
would
I
go
have.
for, I
That's
would go
key
for the wooden drawers
storage.
because
That
yeah,
is key storage.
you could store like bedding under there. I could see
Mm-hmm.
how that would be very efficient.
Yeah.
But
And I do that with my guest bedroom beds because in each guest bedroom is the linens for that room
yeah,
so that it's all matchy matchy. Every room has a color and
I would like it if I had a bed with like a chain that you pull and it raises the mattress and it's like a slide where you can like
oh
jump and
yeah,
slide
like
into a car or
yes.
something.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but
Okay.
you
Well,
know, but yeah,
strategies.
I could do that. But
I have
again,
no idea how we're on this topic.
I'm apparently
Okay.
sleepy. Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's like a mattress. We should get a
yeah,
mattress sponsor.
I'll get a mattress sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I Sealy, if you're listening, hit us up.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Mattres. I save the
A
last.
mattress.
Leave the last. Oh, yeah. Look, that's what we need. A
Mattress.
mattress.
Yeah.
Matt will do the read for you.
Yeah.
Mattress company. Who knows someone at a mattress company?
So my plan in getting this was to go test out mattresses and lay on mattresses and see which is the perfect mattress, but I got frustrated with the way the world is going, so I just got one off of Amazon, and it was fantastic in that it comes all rolled up, and you think it's all going to be shitty because they can roll it up and put it in a box, but
A small box that looks
yeah,
like it's
very
going to hold a poster.
yeah, and my son was here, and I was like, you want to see something cool, and of course you want to see something cool, and it had like an envelope opener that came with it, and you slide it across the plastic, and it all of a sudden just inflates into a full bed. And he thought it was just amazing. I thought it was fun, and I sat on it, and oh my god, it's actually a really good bed. So
Wild.
my sleep has drastically increased, especially after the move, after my breakup, after all this stuff. I haven't slept well for about maybe 8 months because I was between fighting to get my son out of ABA to planning on moving, packing up stuff, looking at houses, all the drama with my breakup, all of this stuff. I just did not sleep until around Christmas break, and my son was here and he wanted to sleep in the big bed, and I was just like, all right, we'll just crash. And it unlocked something, and it allowed me to get good sleep again. And I have been really, really, really sleeping to make up for this massive, massive sleep deficit ever since then. And autistic people often accumulate a massive, massive sleep deficit because we are stressed out about a lot of stuff. Our emotional stuff is usually through the roof, and emotional disturbances prevent good sleep. If you're worked up
Mm,
and you need to go through this systemic, categorization in your head in order to
yeah.
get back into a logic state, that's a sign of a sleep issue. We might have bad dreams. We might have night terrors. And we might also have the sleep apnea because due to interoception, we forget to breathe. We forget to breathe while we're talking. We forget to breathe while we're focused on reading or playing video games. And when we're asleep, we definitely forget to breathe. And
Mm-hmm.
this is so common for autistic people. I encourage every autistic parent to watch their child breathe. I encourage every autistic adult who has a spouse or a significant other to have them watch you breathe, because you might snore, you might not snore, but there might be periods where you just go and just, you can
Stop
tell
breathing.
that there's no
So
breathing going on.
but you were talking about before. There's hypo sleep. There's insomnia
And
and
hypersomnia.
hypersomnia.
Yeah, because again, if you go for long, long periods of time without sleeping, your body has this sleep deficit and you need to make up for it. And right now, I'm sleeping like 12-hour nights because after I get done with work at the end of the day, especially since, we live in a time of turmoil, my job as a therapist is to help people through the times of turmoil. And then
Mm.
I need to go relax my brain. So I sleep for like 12 hours. And I
So,
recognize that,
and is that
stuff isn't
without
getting done.
waking up? Are you putting
Uh,
on the CPAP and then it's just like 12 hours you're
Yeah,
out
yeah, I
cold?
am. I am out for the count.
And what about
I
dreaming? Do you dream?
I do. I
You
have some
do.
really, really weird dreams. A lot of electric sheep.
I don't dream at all.
We I was waiting for a laugh response for that because that's a Blade Runner thing. But
Dream
yeah,
of electric sleep.
yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
got
yeah.
you.
But yeah. But that's the thing. That's the
Okay.
thing. We all, in theory, dream, but you don't remember it unless you wake
Right.
up during the REM cycle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
we in theory go into a dream state every 90 minutes, but if you don't wake up during that 90 minutes, you might not remember it.
Hmm.
It's a big thing, especially if you want to get into lucid dreaming where you can control your dreams, setting alarms periodically to wake yourself up to get into a more wake state and get the alpha waves rather than the delta
Wait, have
waves
you ever
going.
done that?
I have not, but
No.
I,
Okay.
in periods where I do have bad sleep, for instance, like, when I lived in Bardstown and the guy next door was hammering on his car all night, I would remember my dreams fairly frequently because I would be woke up a
Wow.
lot.
Huh.
And
Okay.
I never got to the point of lucid dreaming, but I would be like, oh, hey, this is asleep. This is nice. But again, a lot of my dreams were about what is currently going on and, dealing with stuff. And I had a dream about my ex last night, and we were doing shopping at some sort of mall and with my son and her son, and it was just great. But yeah, it's one of those things where we process unconsciously what kind of stuff we're going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's one of those things that, once again, autistic people tend not to see as a thing, not notice as a thing until you point it out and then say, yeah, that's a problem. You should do things about that because it's kind of rough. Because without good sleep, like you said, our bodies deteriorate. We might get fibromyalgia. It might be a thing that it raises our cortisol levels. It leads to stuff like epigenetic changes. It can be a factor that leads more into POTS, leads more into like
Mm.
lupus, leads into all
Mm-hmm.
sorts a decreased immune response or an increased immune response because we're on high alert all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep is really fascinating. And
Okay, so we have the trouble falling asleep, trouble staying
okay.
asleep,
So we
sleeping
can't
too
shut our brains
much.
off because
Yeah.
that's the thing. Okay, so this is also a thing. We have difficulty with transitions, right? So when our brains are in one state, we don't want to leave that state. So we often have trouble getting to sleep at night and then waking up in the morning because we can't get into the sleep state and then we can't get out of the sleep state. And this is, we often have delayed sleep phase onset because I don't get tired traditionally until like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I wake up around 10 in the morning and
Mm.
start my day around 11. Again, lately I've been sleeping 12-hour nights. So I crash right after work and then wake up in the morning. But we might also wake up frequently. You might again have sleep apnea and need to wake up for that. You might have a lot of interoceptive difficulties. There's a lot of bedwetting for autistic people, especially autistic children, because lack of interoceptive cues. Because kids don't
Oh.
understand that they need to go to the bathroom and therefore sleep
Oh.
through that alarm. And I know a lot of autistic kids who wet the bed until like at least 8 or 9. And on
Oh.
my new mattress, I have a mattress protector because the first night that we did it, my son wet the bed, and I was like, that's no problem. We have a mattress protector. Well
Yes.
done. But we need to go to the bathroom a lot because again we forget that we need to do that, and here we are. So it's
Wow.
it's it's normal for autistic people to have bedwetting stuff, to not be aware of that, to have difficulty getting to sleep, staying asleep, getting up on time. Getting up for school is a beast for autistic people
Mm-hmm.
because autistic kids, they're going to fight you because they're still in a sleep state. They are not conscious yet. They look like they're conscious, but they are not conscious.
Right.
And that's the reason why there's a lot of preschool violence, preschool meltdowns, not preschool, but before school meltdowns.
Preschool
Yeah.
violence. Yes,
Yes,
not preschool
exactly.
violence, although there could be that. My family had this rule of don't talk to Angela when she wakes up.
Yeah.
That carries on to this day. Not that I see that much, but it's always like, don't talk to Angela when she wakes up.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen.
It's so common.
So mad to be awake.
Yeah, and it sets the course of the day because the parents think that there's something going wrong. They don't know what's going on with all this. There's a lot of interpersonal conflict that comes from this. It's not the kid's fault. It's not the parents' fault for how you wake up. It's society's fault for making you wake up when you should not biologically be awake. And this is a big thing why, the whole unschooling thing is better because it works with our natural circadian rhythms. We're awake and ready to learn. Because again, when you drop off a half asleep kid at school, first period is not going to happen. First
Right.
period, they're still going to be drowsy. They're still going to be asleep. No matter what period you have for first, it's going to be probably the worst subject that you do in school. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's math, and then you internalize I'm bad at math because math was first period and you couldn't learn math because your brain was still asleep, that's going to set off a lot of issues for learning later on.
Right.
If you're in English and you fall asleep like I did, it's going to cause problems. It's going to cause a lot of resentment. It's going to cause a lot of hurt feelings. It's going to exacerbate all of the problems. It's going to make you more likely to get into conflict at school. It's going to make you, not pay attention to food. It's going to make you skip meals. All of these things are related to a lack of sleep. And in doing so, if you're disturbed because, you can't do well in school, people at first period make fun of you for falling asleep, you're not going to be able to get to sleep at night because you're worried about how the next day is going to go.
Right.
So it's this endless cycle of lack of sleep, lack of resources, exacerbated emotions, exacerbated thoughts, interpersonal conflict. All of this stuff is not inherently autistic. It's inherent to a lack of restorative sleep.
Ah.
So none of these things are natural autistic traits, but we are blamed for all of this stuff. Not being social might be the fact that neurotypicals love to do shit at 8 in the morning. So you bring an autistic kid for an evaluation at 8 in the morning and they're not social. And that's the only thing neurotypicals see.
Right.
And all of these things are attributed to all of the factors that affect us. And again, because we're not seeing the sleep as the problem, people label the autism as the problem, and we don't get the resources that we need. But that brings us to our next part. How do we fix this? How do we get the resources? What resources do you need? How can you live a more autistic friendly life and get better sleep? But before we do this, I'm going to give you the gauntlet of this commercial message.
Hey, everybody, this is Angela, and I have an incredible opportunity to share with you from friend of the pod and one of my favorite authors that I've had the opportunity to work with, Becca Lori Hector. Becca's book, Always Bring Your Sunglasses, is a heartfelt and honest look at life through the lens of an autistic adult, filled with insights, personal stories, and a heck of a lot of empowerment. And she is offering it totally 100% free to our listeners. All you have to do is visit alwaysbringyoursunglasses.com. That's alwaysbringyoursunglasses.com for a free copy of Becca's book.
We are back. Does Becca's book cover sleep disturbances? Because it seems like she should.
She should. I do think there's something in there about it. I seem to remember there's like a part of a chapter, but it's not a whole chapter.
That would be a good reason to read that, because while our upcoming book definitely has it, because I put it in there myself, and I am remembering, unless I've dreamt it. But
which is possible. No.
Yeah.
I know
Becca
there was something in the integrating your identity chapter. Yeah, because that new section, which is really good. We didn't talk about it. You guys should get our new book. It might be out by the time you're listening to this episode.
It might be because I'm biased, but I like it. So yeah, but
really
we'll talk about the stuff in our book for sure. Indefinitely, you should build a shrine to it in your home.
Yeah,
put it upon the shrine. Put one copy upon the shrine, and then have 5 or 6 copies for reading, and then give them as holiday gifts. It makes an excellent Yom Kippur gift. An Arbor Day
Atone
gift, because
read our book while you're atoning. And Arbor Day, big Arbor Day gift.
Yeah, it's made of trees, so it technically counts. So plant a tree to replace the tree that was used to make the book.
Excellent.
But anyway, yes. So sleep problems are prolific among our people. Sleep problems affect every part of everything of the way we do things. So you need to go through your life and examine how sleep deficit impacts you. What does your sleep wake cycle look like? How much sleep do you get per night? Does your current work schedule revolve around your sleep, or does your sleep schedule revolve around your work, your kids, all of your interpersonal stuff, whether or not you have to do dishes, all the stuff you have to do for your mom, all of this stuff? And you need to adjust your life accordingly, because sleep is not an option. Sleep is necessary. You absolutely need to get good, healthy sleep to be a healthy person. So we need to go through your life and examine, number one, how much sleep you're getting. Number two, do you wake up in the middle of the night? How often do you wake up in the middle of the night? How long do you wake up in the middle of the night for? Because again, if you have sleep apnea, you might feel this feeling of terror and your heart rate is elevated and you don't really know why, but it's your body trying to tell you, hey, we're dying. Right. It's literally the same response as if you were attacked by a cheetah.
Right.
So you absolutely need to get this checked out. I did a sleep apnea study. When you go do a sleep apnea study, they essentially put these little globs of gel on your head and attach wires, maybe 40 or 50 wires. They put on a mask with a tube, at first it's incredibly uncomfortable. Uh, I I acclimated to it really quickly, not because we habituate, because we don't habituate, but I realized that the feeling of breathing is so much better than not breathing that I really, really grew to enjoy the air. It became
The
so
breathing.
much.
I
Yeah,
grew to
yeah,
enjoy the
exactly.
breathing.
I
I like the
love
breathing.
breathing.
Okay, but
And
listen, I can't have anything touch my face ever. I
and
don't
that's the
like
thing. That's
things
the
touching my
offset.
face.
I hated it initially. I hated it touching my face. I hated the face hugger grip that was on there. But again, it's offset by the
By the
fresh breath
breathing.
that I get, and it grew to not just be tolerable, but I associated it with this feeling of relief. So I still don't like the fact that every time my face itches, I have to reach under the mask. I don't like the fact that I have a big mark around my face when I wake up in the morning. But at the same time, I love the feeling of the freedom of breathing. And
Okay,
it
well, I
if you
see
don't
that.
have this, it's impossible to explain how wonderful it really, really is.
Hmm.
It's it is an amazing, amazing feeling. And if you've never woke up fully rested, it feels like a sense of euphoria, getting up
Wow.
every morning and being like, "Hey, I am ready to take on the day." And it's it is something that is indescribable, and when I say it, it sounds preposterous, but it is true.
What about for insomnia, or do you even have to fix insomnia and hypersomnia? Or are those just natural cycles for us and it's more about
Ugh.
accepting them?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Because again, we live in a world with so much bad news, and we can't tune it out, so we worry about stuff.
Right.
We live in a state of constant self-examination, of constant bombardment by chaos. We have to affect the chaos. We have to keep the chaos out. We have to be aware of how we're going to interact with people. We have to plan for the day ahead. We have to script conversations. If we
Yeah.
lived in a more autistic friendly world, for instance, like when I worked in community mental health, I had to take a nap when I got to work in the morning because I had to deal with morning rush hour traffic. So I
Mm-hmm.
shut my door, I locked my door, and I sat in my chair and slept for about 10 minutes because I needed to get rid of the horror of,
Mm-hmm.
rush hour
Working in
traffic.
community. Yeah.
When I got home, I was overwhelmed by the day, overwhelmed by the drive, overwhelmed by the tasks because I had to do all this. But living my own life where I do telehealth from home, working for myself, doing a podcast, generally speaking, I am able to live a much healthier life and I don't have insomnia as much as I once did.
Right.
If we
So that's
have,
kind of, for me, my biggest sleep issue is narcolepsy.
oh, yeah,
And
narcolepsy is where you fall asleep at the drop of a hat.
yeah. So when I didn't know this, I didn't know these words, but
Yeah,
whenever I was in high masking situations, which
yeah,
are often, but not always, high stress situations,
yes.
like for instance, job interviews,
Anywhere
I
where you
would,
might experience judgment or rejection that could impact your life.
yes, but also one of my weird, like narcolepsy things is public transportation.
Yeah,
And so I would often miss my stop
yeah,
on public transport because I was so over, like, it's one of my worst sensory nightmares is the
yeah,
metro in DC, the metro. And it's so hard for me that I just was like, okay, I have a solution to this. And literally, that I would step on the metro, I would fall asleep, and you could get robbed. I was robbed on a train once.
yeah.
Everything was taken, maybe twice. Like, on any sort of public transportation, job interviews, and then like with my family or first dates. I fell asleep at restaurants on so many first
That's
dates.
quite the first impression.
It's so bad, but I was like trying to have fun and trying to look good and worried about my weight and worried about all the things. And then I would like accidentally, they would like, I don't know, go to the bathroom, and then I would be asleep at the table when they came back.
Yeah.
It was so bad. When I stopped masking, my narcolepsy went away. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, if you go and do sleep studies, they will give you medicine for it. Like, I was offered drugs. I could have gone to a doctor's
Yeah.
appointment every day for my narcolepsy, and they
Yeah.
would have tried to find a cure. The cure was creating a low demand lifestyle where I was unmasked and accepted that I am part of a beautiful, rich tapestry of autistic culture. And then my
And that's the
narcolepsy
thing.
went away, no drugs
And that's
included.
and that's the thing, because like, with kids are stressed about school, kids are stressed about masking at school, kids are stressed about all the pressures put upon them, and automatically they're given melatonin or
Right. Oh
anxiety
God, the
meds.
obsession with melatonin.
Yeah.
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 I'm like, how about a life that you don't need melatonin from?
Seriously, it's because the life that we're leading is just not in accordance with our meat bodies. It's like asking us to hop on one leg everywhere because hopping on one leg is in vogue, and
Right.
it's much cooler to hop on one leg than to use two legs.
Right. And that's just like gonna wear you down, and it's
Yeah,
gonna come out somehow.
yeah,
And for me, sometimes that was my insomnia comes from, I forget the right psychology word for this, but basically like overthinking. It's
yeah,
the chess is autistic insomnia
yeah.
from the Queen's, what was that?
The Queen's Gambit.
The Queen's Gambit. Yeah, when she's doing all the chess moves,
Yeah,
I used to have to do like it was an assignment. I used to
yeah,
have to do route planning. I would lay in
yeah,
bed and I had to plan at what if I was in Gaithersburg and I was going to Springfield, but there was a major accident on 495. What would be the fastest way to get there? And then I like would have to do 3,000. That's where I get insomnia, is when I'm in some sort of rumination. That was the word I was
yeah.
looking for. But
I
stress for me is narcolepsy.
Yeah. Well, because you shut down, because your body, you have a circuit breaker
Mm.
in your head, and it just shuts off.
Yep. And scene. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And for me,
So,
the
yeah.
easiest way for me to get to bed is for me to create elaborate scenarios in my head of, the best solution to all my problems usually involve being a Jedi. So if there's injustice, if I was a Jedi and you go out and you have the Force, you could change people's opinions. You have a lightsaber, you can change their physiology, and you can fix problems, and coming up with solutions to ease my anxiety, to do
Aww.
stuff, and before you know it, I'm asleep. You know what doesn't work? Doom
Trying to
scrolling.
go to sleep. Oh, have you ever tried that? I try that almost every night.
Yeah, because we as autistic people love them little boxes in our hands. We play video
Yeah.
games. You might scroll Facebook Reels all night, and you can tell when I have insomnia and I'm scrolling Facebook, because that's where I'm a prolific poster in our group, Autistic Connections. Throughout
I
the day,
get
I tend not to post
alarmed.
anything.
I'll be
Yeah,
like, oh my God, it's been 8 hours of posting. What are you doing? I'm coming to Kentucky and taking the phone out of your hand.
Yeah, because those are times when I like crash around 6 or 7 and then wake up at 3 in the morning and I can't go back to sleep. So I just scroll for hours.
Mm.
And yeah, that's that. When you see that happening, that is a real time demonstration of insomnia and how not to handle insomnia.
Thank you for
So
modeling that. Yes, don't want to
yeah,
be too
yeah, don't do
perfect.
that thing I do.
It'll yeah, that'll help. So,
Yeah,
okay, so one way we fix it is create a low demand lifestyle. I have posted
yeah,
that. Sometimes people will ask various questions, and my answer is I changed every single thing about my life. I
yes,
changed who
yes,
I talk to. I changed my job. I changed people's expectations of me. I literally, if there was a thing to change, I changed it and created a life where I could be myself. People get real
yeah.
mad about that answer, I
They
have
do. They
found.
do. Because that's the thing. You got into this life that you got into for not just one big reason, but for 187 million little reasons. And then
Hmm.
you end up with all of these demands on you, because I know someone who, is exhausted all the time, but also has all of these tasks to do because she has to take care of 2 pets that she, doesn't really, 3 pets that she doesn't really want to take care of because people just dump them on her. Has to take care of her own kid, herself, her job, 18 family members, and she can't cut any of them off because,
Mm,
my advice, you
mm,
might want to cut back. Well, I can't cut back. Well, why can't you cut back? Because they need me. Well, can you find another home for the pets that I know that you love them, but you don't have any time for attention and quality time. Can you rehome them? No, because, they were given to me. And like, well, it's a burden. Can these people in your life go, I don't know, to a therapist instead of coming to you with all their problems? But they come to me. It's like, yeah, I know, but if they went to a therapist, they wouldn't have to come to you. So when you are given 100, when you have to do everything for everybody and you can't tune anything out because you don't want to be rejected or perceived as incapable, and all of you accept way, way, way more responsibility than any human ever needs. That can be a high demand lifestyle, and that is bad for autistic people. That is even worse for ADHD people, and
mm.
it's one of those things that will kill you.
Right.
I am not
50. Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. It will cause a lot of sleep problems. It will cause a lot of energy problems. It will cause health problems. You will die early because of your overcommitment. You are not a bad person if you let go of some of it. If you pull an Elsa and let it go,
Let it go. Yeah.
yeah, you
I
need to
won't
let
sing
it
the whole
go.
song, but the thing is, I think it has to go from the bottom up. And I think if you start with get rid of your
Bottom up
pets,
processing, you say.
yeah.
Tell us about this.
Well, maybe it's only for me, but it's like if you told me, I remember shouting at somebody. I had a list of, I was, I lost my voice completely. I had completely lost my ability to speak at all.
That
I
is
was
what we call
in,
a somatic response to distressing
yeah,
situations.
I was in complete autistic burnout and I had 20 trips, so 2 to 3 a month as a paid professional speaker.
Oh,
And right, which is not great. And so then
anxiety out the
I
wazoo.
added another 20 trips to doctors who I would basically scream and cry and plead, you have to fix this. I have 20 paid speaking engagements.
Yeah.
Like, I must go speak. You must fix my voice. So I literally could, I would look at this and it would be like, I have this engagement, I have this engagement, I have to go to California for this. I'm taking my father to Egypt. I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
To
What do you
Egypt,
want me to I took my father to Egypt.
as one does.
And so I would be like, what can I possibly cut? What
Yeah.
can I not do? Like, everything in here there's no option. I must do it. So, and then I couldn't leave my closet for 6 months and I missed all of those appointments. So
Because you
I got
couldn't
the
cut any of
answer.
them. Tell me about the distress about cutting out any any responsibility.
It was nothing because it was top down. So I was like, which one? I can't pick. Am I not going to go to Florida with
Yeah.
whoever it was, my family? Am I not going to do this? Like, none of them. So when you're giving that woman those options, what if you rehome your pets? What if you don't let people spew all their shit on you? What if, like, from the top down, they all seem impossible because it's my identity. That's who I am.
Yes. You are the caretaker.
I am the person that does all these things. So I had to first become another person. And the way I became another person is by like sitting and crying in my closet for 6 months, thinking of ways to end my life and what that might look like.
We call that the
Like,
chrysalis stage. Go on.
yeah. Yeah, dissolved into some mucky nothingness. I wasn't
Yeah.
a caterpillar. I wasn't a butterfly. I didn't have a name. I didn't even have a name. I was a mucky nothingness. And then a
Yeah.
new thing came. I don't know if that new thing was a butterfly, so I'm not going that far. But a new thing, I might have gone from a butterfly into a caterpillar. Whatever the new thing is, it's much slower. And that person doesn't even get invited to all those places.
Yeah.
That person isn't even wanted there. Like, if those things that made it so hard for me to sleep don't even come up anymore. And when
Yeah.
they do, like I had to move, so there was some stuff. There definitely was some stuff with that. But when they do, they're very situational, and they're more likely to end than spiral and get worse.
Yeah. And that's the big thing, because when we talk about autistic identity, it is a game changer. It's not just a casual thing that you do. It is everything.
Everything.
And
Everything.
it is not a small ask. It is tumultuous. It is horrifying. It is, you got some Cronenberg body horror imagery going on, because you have to completely reevaluate every single part of your life. And it's it's daunting.
Hmm. It is. And I think changing your whole identity feels more daunting than being miserable for the rest of your life. And I think most people, even before autism was a diagnosis, like a few episodes back, we did Anne of Green Gables.
Oh
And
yeah.
we talked about how at the end, she's like, she was this happy person who was experiencing glimmers every day. She was renaming all of the natural features in her environment. She was making up stories. She was building an audience. She was super happy. And then she was like, oh, I guess I have to be an adult and be miserable. And
Have you
so she
tried
took
just
on,
suffering?
yeah. And that is what is seen as noble. Like,
Yeah.
if she was like, hey, I'm going to build an autistic friendly life. And again, in 1908, the word autistic didn't even exist. But if she was like, I'm going to go build an autistic friendly life, that would be rare. Now, compare that to Emily Dickinson.
Oh yeah.
Equally difficult, 50 or so years before Anne of Green Gables was written. But Emily Dickinson was like, come hell or high fucking water, I'm going to build a low demand life. So
Yeah.
she's like, hey, mom and dad, don't invite me to any of your political fundraisers. I have a stomach ache. I'm going to be in the bathroom. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then when her parents would leave for political fundraisers, even when she was 30 years old, she would sneak down to her father's library, grab all the books and read them all, or
As one does.
potentially cross the street, grab her brother's wife, take her out into the woods, take off all their clothes, and make out naked and roll around in the grass, which sounds prickly to me, but I'm all for the naked rolling around. So
There you go.
she built a low demand, autistic friendly life. Oh, and she would only wear the same white dress. She had one dress. She made like 10 copies of it, and it was all she would wear. It was this like thin white cotton dress. And people are like, you can't wear that. She's like, why not? I'm home. Did I mention I have a stomach ache? Can't leave.
Right. Yeah.
I got to
Deal
go
with
write
it.
a poem. Also, wrote 1,800 poems, published 3.
As
And
one
she's
does.
like, I don't want any of that bullshit. I'm going to just be here living my low demand life. And look, when people get mad at me about talking about my low demand life, they're like, I need money. I need, like,
Yeah.
Anne lived off her dad was, I think, president of Amherst University or something. Like, her parents had money and she lived at home. And so that is nice.
Yeah.
I have to work. But I went from having 40 employees and working 1,000 hours a day to, like, right now I help, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 people
Yeah.
write their books. I do a couple one-off appointments, and then I'll have like 5 ongoing clients that I'll spend a year with writing their book. I
It's the
make a
reason why
lot
I
less money,
yeah,
but
it's the reason why I don't accept insurance, and I only do cash pay, because it excludes a lot of people who might be on like Medicaid or something. But
get our
it's the
book.
only way that I can survive. It's about, I want to help people, which is why we have the
We do the
podcast. But
podcast. It's
I
free.
need to have a low demand lifestyle in order to survive, because otherwise I will die early and not help anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know you would like the answer to your sleep problems to be take melatonin, make sure you get the gummies from Costco
Yeah.
in the, I don't know, 250 milligram bottles.
Or
But
CBD gummies. But yeah.
you're right. But all of that is not the answer that's going to give you the long term solution. I believe, to most sleep problems.
Right. And that's the thing, because the only solution is to live a way that your body and your brain needs, and then your body and brain will self-regulate, and the sleep problems will go away on their own.
Yeah.
So
Surprise.
it's it's unfortunate. It's the hard answer. It's the hard work. It involves becoming a completely different you, but we believe in you, and
Yeah,
we're
and
here
you
to
will.
help you. We
And
are
there's
here.
other side effects that are even better than the sleep side effect. You're going to
Better
love
than sleep?
sleeping, but there's so many great things about living an authentically autistic life.
Are you talking about that thing like what do they call it? Happiness.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
am
yeah.
happier.
If you ever if you ever wonder how people do it every day, this is how they do it. It's a lot easier to be happy when your needs are met. It's a lot easier to be happy when you know things are not stressful. So even if you're in the capitalistic grind and you can't not work, think of all the other things that you can change, because if you do have to keep a 9 to 5 or a different shift, eh, think of all the other stuff that you can cut out in order to be happy and healthy. You need to have good sleep, you need to have good relationships, you need to have all of this stuff. How do you live to where you can be happy?
How do I live without you?
Exactly.
I want to know. Okay. It's not karaoke time. Angela, put the music back. Put the music in.
But
Let the
yeah,
music play.
hopefully this will be of help. And again, if you ever worry about it, just we will be here to listen to late at night while you can't sleep.
It's real bad right now. It's especially bad, I think, for people in the US or have people you love in the
Yeah.
US. And so we feel you. We've been getting a lot of requests for this episode. So hope it helped. Let us know in the comments.
Have a good one. Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition.
Be sure to tune in for our Autistic Culture episodes every Tuesday, where we celebrate autistic contributions to society, culture, and history.
For even more Autistic Culture, consider becoming a paid member for exclusive perks like live Q&A calls with us, a virtual writing circle, and our new Self-Defined Living course by Becca Laurie Hector.
Fun fact, Matt, it actually costs us $8 for every minute that people see or hear on the podcast. But our member pricing is just $8 a month.
What a bargain!
What a bargain! Buy 1 minute and get 500 minutes for free. Seriously, if you can afford this, we really appreciate your contribution. It makes all this possible.
And of course, the best way everyone can support what we are doing is to rate, review, share, and subscribe on Substack or your favorite podcast app.
This is the way.